Subtle Serpent Survival here. I was going through some old videos and right in time for Blade Show 2024, I found this classic from about a decade ago. Now, I not only had the opportunity to hold this blade, but I got to hear its story from the one and only Ethan Becker. And this knife was an original Kephart designed and used by Horace himself, which also laid the foundation for one of my favorite Beckers from the lineup, the BK62. So go ahead and take a seat by the campfire and enjoy this extraordinary story. Thanks for watching.
This is Mr. Ethan Becker. He's going to talk about his Kephart, one of the original ones by Horace Kephart.
All right, this blade. Those of you who know Kephart, he was probably the preeminent writer on camping and woodcraft in the United States for most of the early part of the 20th century. And he had some very strong views on everything, including very strong views on sheath knives. And this is an extremely interesting piece, not only because it's rare, but because it was Kephart. And the tremendous thing about this thing is, Jimmy Kroll said earlier today, everything that needs to be there is there, and everything that doesn't need to be there isn't there. And if you look at the blade, it's convex both from the top down and slightly toward the top, and then it's relieved at the top. And the reason for that is that when it's being used in either cleaning a fish or cutting meat, it gives a clean entrance and a clean exit. And it's the handle does not look like much. It's walnut scales, but the subtleties in the hand are incredible. It really, it's nice and flat, so it orients well in the hand. Everything's round. There's never going to be a hot spot when you're using it. It's a knife designed to be used for a long time. And it has both a distal taper and a tapered tang. And it just absolutely, I have not done very much with it to cut with it. I gave it my standard belt make a 10 steak test when I first get a knife. I intend to have one made that's an exact copy, I mean, down to the thousandths here and there. This knife has already taught me a great deal, and I expect it to teach me a great deal more when I can really take it out and beat on it. I ain't gonna beat on this one, folks. This one is just too, and one of the interesting things, almost all the Kepharts that are being made from photographs, and there are a lot of them being made, and they almost all have a slight recurve. And the reason for the recurve and the one because this one's been unknown, is because he used it so much, he sharpened it into a recurve. He didn't intend for it to be a recurve. He used it and used it and used it. So it's a very, and when I took it out the first time and I used it, I was amazed. It's got a probably 70-year-old edge on it. It's only been sharpened a couple of times, and it wanted to cut. It has a very hungry edge, as Mr. Boyd said earlier today, and it supposedly it's figured that it was made out of what's called shear steel, which I think meant that it was designed for making shears. So they took a number of layers of blister steel and welded them together and then put them in the forge and then beat them down, kind of like Damascus. But they weren't after Damascus, they were after homogeneity. And everything about the thing screams utility. It's just, it's one of the few knives I've ever held that I'd heard hype and hype and hype and hype and hype, and it pretty much lives up to it. That's pretty cool.
Like, you want to talk about the sheath?
The sheath is maybe the original, okay, but it's my favorite type of sheath. It's a pouch sheath that allows you to get an easy grip. So, but it's not gonna come out by accident. So, my own personal PK16 lives in a leather pouch sheath. It pretty much it costs a lot more than this one. So anyway, that's more to follow, because as I get more lessons from this blade, I want to share them with people. And it's been fascinating to me here at Blade Show, the excitement of being able to hold it. And I didn't think there were that many people who were as crazy as I am. It's just a perfect blade. And you know, there were two sizes. There was a 5-inch and a 4-inch, and this is a 5-inch. It's a little bit longer than everybody says it ought to be as wide, long as your palm is wide for a handy utility knife. Plenty close enough. There's enough of an index here so that when you are skinning, you're not going to get on the blade. And it's so simple. Yeah, you know, and it's round. There's no. One of the problems is when I've noticed with a lot of makers, they first get started being able to make clean edges, you know, sharp, clean edges, because it's not easy to do, but it's even harder to make them all round. You know, with Velcro. And that guy is, I mean, it's just, and you know, I mean, you use a knife a lot. You could use that one for a long time without getting any blisters or hot blisters. What?
The scales are very smooth on this.
Yeah, yeah.
This is one of my favorite types.